I truly believe we can self-heal. We can heal anything that happens to us. We are so limited by programming, society, all that stuff. You can accelerate your results by dealing with the unconscious mind and going to the root cause of whatever the issue is. Emotions are not who you are. You are not your issues either. People are not fucking broken. You just sit in the uncomfortableness for a minute, more than a minute. It's amazing how you don't need all the things all the books talk about. You just be with your feelings. I got this full-on divine download one day. It was like, you're gonna create this Viking combination of adventure, travel, self-development, Viking culture, spirituality. So I've literally compartmentalized and built an event that I would pay a lot of money for to go to, and it came out successful. They looked around and they're like, where am I? People have never been to Norway. They felt like they stepped into a storybook. One of the attendees, Ian said, he's like, Aaron, you could have fucked this whole thing up. And just us being here in this valley of the gods, this incredible fjord, he's like, worth every penny.
Welcome everybody to the Unreasonable Health Podcast, and I am really excited to introduce our special guest today. Phenomenal individual, Aaron James Yeager. He's dedicated his career to mastering the intersection of ancient practices, exploration of ways to reprogram the unconscious mind, and combine modern scientific principles. As an expert in performance coaching and hypnotherapy, Aaron has guided countless individuals on their paths to self-discovery, growth, and transformation. With extensive training in various disciplines, Aaron brings profound depth of knowledge and experience to his coaching practice. Some of his expertise: performance coaching, hypnotherapy, ancient wisdom practices, which I'm really excited to dive into there. And he's also the creator of Awaken the Viking program. They initiate some really cool experiences. And so I'm excited to dive in here. Welcome to the show, Aaron James.
Hey man, thanks for having me. It was really great meeting you, and I love that we're continuing the conversation here.
Yeah. Well, I'm really intrigued. So tell me a little bit about tell the listeners just a little bit about you. Like, what do you like to do for fun?
Yeah, what do I like to do for fun? Well, first of all, I love to be outdoors. Like, the more I can be outdoors, the better, which is one of the reasons I live and moved to Utah. It's one of my favorite practices. Like, I just can't be indoors all day. So that's one of them. And as you know, we have depending on the season, we have quite a lot of options. So I love to, right now, it's winter time, so we got skiing or snowboarding. I'm new to snowboarding. So like, it was kind of cool because a season and a half ago, I decided to make the switch. And at 43 years old, I haven't learned something new in a while. Yeah. So it was really cool to see how the brain, I turned into a teenager again when I started learning it. I was like, wow, things are operating inside of my heart and my head that I haven't switched on for a while. So that's been really fun. So snowboarding is a big activity right now.
And so before that, you were a skier?
Yeah, I've been a skier since I was like young, and I hadn't quite got to that level of performance that I wanted to, that some of my buddies, I just can't follow their line. But when I got snowboarding, I'm like, oh, my body likes this way better. Like, I'm a Pisces, I'm more flowy. And once I started getting on the board, I'm like, okay, this is way more my style, which is like, I love to wake surf during the summer. So like, if I'm not working or if I'm not like at the gym, then I'm definitely wake surfing. So those are the kind of two sports. And now I'm like aligned because I can wake surf and then I can snowboard in both seasons. So that's what I like doing.
Yes, I love it. Those are my two favorite sports, as well as downhill mountain biking. That's the other one.
That's my third. We're the same, and we should probably go do that. Though I have had my share of experiences on the mountain bike. So going over the handlebars and all that, I've done it for a while. But I'm way more cautious now. I just want to keep my body intact so that I can go do number 1 and 2, which is wake surfing and snowboarding. So I enjoy it definitely, but I'm riding the brakes more.
Yeah, especially wake surfing's way more forgiving than mountain biking.
Oh yeah, you just fall. It's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, awesome. And so, yeah, very cool. So love the outdoors, and you've got a like when we met. So we met at the Speakeasy SLC mastermind group, and
Yeah.
I know you had mentioned your Awaken the Viking trip in Norway, and I was just blown away by how cool that looked. But yeah, like I'm curious, how did you come up with that?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. It's a really fun story. So, I mean, like many people, I think that Viking lore, the tie or the sexiness of Vikings is growing around the world
Oh
between the
yeah, for
Netflix
sure.
shows and all that. Like Vikings are a sexy thing to get excited about. So, of course, I've fallen into that as well. But in my research, in my own study, like I really enjoy learning from ancient cultures, like learning about how were things done before. And I look at the modern landscape, especially in self-development, and I saw so much of the same stuff recasted, and people who are really good at marketing can sell really good programs out there. But then you look at the substance of what they're doing, I'm like, it's just not there. And so I'm very much about choose your prophets wisely, like who you're going to learn from, like choose very carefully who you're letting put information into your garden, your mind. And so I've been to a lot of masterminds, and you probably have too. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in masterminds all around the world, and I love it because I love connecting with people. That's great. And it kept kind of being like the repeat and rinse and repeat. It was like we're in a hotel, there's a nice production, there's a stage, people talking, and then we go do excursions, right? And people drinking and doing all that stuff. It's like, okay, cool. But like, I want something different. And in 2017, I fell in love with Norway when I went there. I mean, I don't know if you've ever, Cade, experienced
Oh,
this, but like when I got to Norway for the first time, I wept. Like I got there and something over. I'm not kidding you. I was with my former partner at that time, and like I was like, I am home. My heart was open. I was like, what the fuck am I crying? I'm just like bawling. I'm like, oh, I'm listening. Okay, I'm like, I'm home. And the more that, so as a hypnotherapist, I do a lot of work on myself as well, and I love to do past life regression as well. If people want to go there, I've gone there. I know that at least had 3 or 4 Viking lives. And so when Norway just sparked this inside of me. And so you combine the trip that I spent there, a month in Norway, with like this download that I got as a coach and be like, okay, how do I create something different here? I got this full on divine download one day. It's like, you're going to create this Viking combination of adventure, travel, self-development, Viking culture, spirituality, and just like take all your favorite things about the masterminds and then remove all the things you don't like and just build your own thing. So I've literally compartmentalized and built an event that I would pay a lot of money for to go to, and it came out successful. It came out, the first one I threw was in 2023, and we had 22, 23 attendees. And like my brain and my inspiration, just like I just took action. I went over there and I met locals. It took me 2 years to develop this event. It took me a little while to like get it actually, where it's not just something you can go Google and do. I wanted to do something that is life changing, that is really impactful, and I use this word very carefully: epic. Epic, epic, epic. I want to create memories for people to tell, and that's what this event is about.
yeah. When I saw some of the pictures, like the landscape and backdrop is just gorgeous. And
Yeah.
like you guys actually like envelop being a Viking.
Yeah. Yeah. The one of my favorite moments was upon arrival day on the first event. And I was already dressed as a Viking. I had a sword or an axe. I had a sword on me. My head was shaved on both sides. Like I was like me and the guy I was working with at that time, one of my helpers, he was picking people up, literally got my camera out because like as people got out of the car, the shuttle, they looked around and they're like, where am I? People have never been to Norway. They felt like they stepped into a storybook, into a fable. And the look on their face was priceless. And I have these videos. And you step into a different world. There's something different. Like I love the Swiss Alps. I love Europe. I've been over there a lot, but there's something different about the mountains and the energy here. And one of the attendees, Ian Stanley, and I hope it's okay if I curse, Ian said, he's like, Aaron, you could have fucked this whole thing up. And just us being here in this valley of the gods, this incredible fjord, he's like, worth every penny. Like this is ridiculous. People were waking up who don't usually have dreams with very vivid dreams. And those people who do usually dream were like, my dreams were crazy last night. The energy there is palpable. The energy there, and the woman who started this whole Viking village that's there, Toril, she spent 20 years to just get the approval to do it. But she said, look, she's like, I'm going to tell you something. He's like, and this is before we had the event. She said, this place does things to people. And she says, some people's energy is not ready for it. And so choose wisely when you pick people. Now, you can't just come to the event. You have to apply, and I do an interview, and I'm very careful on who I say yes to. And it's like, there is an energy there that is very strong. So just in and of itself, the location is a big game changer.
Yeah, so it sounds like it. And yeah, we'll give everyone some options on how they can apply to that here at the end of the show. But you have Awaken the Viking. You also do a lot of kind of performance coaching and hypnotherapy. I'm curious, what led you to that? Because I think in a past life you were doing a lot more kind of software data.
Yeah,
had some data businesses and things. So yeah,
it's an interesting switch now.
Totally different world.
Definitely very different worlds. And I think that's where I bridge the gap as a coach and someone where I have this divergent thinking ability. I have the ability to handle and understand the data side, the numbers, the logic side, but I'm highly emotional. I'm highly tuned into that frequency, masculine and feminine, and I bridge that gap nicely. And so with that being said, when I was 18, I first started becoming a NLP trainer, a coach.
Oh, wow.
Hypnotherapy. So it's been in my blood, it's been in my DNA, it's been in my mind and my subconscious for a long time. So I've been a coach and involved in self-development for a while. In fact, my grandfather, quick side story, what really got me into this is when I was 9.5 years old, I wanted a stereo system. It was like a burning desire that I had. Now I knew if I went to mom and dad, they put me to work, doing chores and shit. I didn't want to do that. And I went to my grandfather, Gideon, and I said, Pop, I showed him the magazine. He's like, I want this stereo. And he had reflected on a time when he and I spent time in his library, that he had like massive, huge library in his house. And I was just curious, like, why do you have so many books? Why do you have so many that look the same? Like, I was this curious 9-year-old. And there was this wisdomatic grandfather, and he sat me down with all these books for 2 hours. He just taught me about knowledge, about asking questions, about how important it is to fill your mind, your beautiful garden with good, clean sun and fertilizer and water, and like watering your garden and keeping it clean. And so he said, you know what? I'll make you a deal. I will buy you that stereo or one better if you work on a program with me. You read, listen to, or watch a video on something from my library, like Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, like some of the Tony Robbins stuff, like all the old classics. If you read it or listen to it, whatever, and then you write down 2 paragraphs about what you learned that day, at the end of the week, we'll review it, but do that with me for a year and I'll buy you that stereo. Stuck up my hand, shook his hand, because at 9.5, I don't know the concept of time. I just heard yes. And so that started my self-development journey. And very quickly, my grandfather was, again, I was usually the youngest guy in the room, and he was the oldest. So I went to Coaches Training Institute. I went to Ted Nicholas's Millionaire Maker Seminar at 17. Like, I got experience and exposure to stuff that maybe I didn't necessarily consciously understand it, but it was going in here. And so I started getting certifications and doing coaching and all that. And so it's something I've been naturally doing. Whereas along the lines, I started other businesses. Some failed, some succeeded. And I found myself in data. But just 3 years ago is when I had the inner, my Dharma just said, look, you can be doing other things, but like, you need to start focusing now on being a better coach, being a better facilitator. So I've combined my hypnotherapy with performance coaching, with breath work, and I've got a really unique model and method of working with high performers, men and women, in one-on-one or group situations, and then creating epic experiences to also then and tie all that on together. So my company, Jaeger Transformation Group, is all about transformation in an impactful and fun way. Not all the transformation, all the hard work has to be so dark and heavy. I really believe in wrapping it in a container of fun and playfulness.
Love it. Oh, that's a really cool story. So, and your grandfather's name was Gideon?
Gideon D. Hill Jr. Yeah, you don't hear many Gideons these days.
Yeah.
But I called him Pop Pop. That was my nickname for him.
Nice. Awesome. You grew up in Utah area, or where'd you grow up?
Oh, no, I was born in Wilmington, Delaware. So I went from East Coast to then my dad worked for DuPont. So I come from an agricultural background family. And so Delaware to Fresno, California, Fresno, California to Long Beach to Austin, Texas, and then Austin, Texas to Utah. And I built a house.
You're new to Utah.
2020, yeah, since April 2020.
Awesome.
I've been coming here. I've been going to Powder Mountain to ski for 5 or 6 years. I've got a lot of friends up in the valley, but as far as living here, yeah, about 4-ish years, maybe almost 5.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, best state by far, right?
Oh man, I don't know how I love Austin, but I don't know how I survive those hot summers. I love the weather here, and I am definitely a mountain guy. I need mountains, and so I found myself more here in Utah. Yeah, I'm very comfortable.
Little more Norway-esque than maybe
Yep.
Texas or California. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
I will be getting a place in Norway. I want to spend at least 3 months out of the year there, starting next year. So that's one of my big goals here, is to keep doing my events and keep expanding business out there and be able to be out there more.
Yeah. Well, I've seen pictures. I've never been to Norway. I've only done the UK is where I've been in Europe, which Scotland was like gorgeous. And like the pictures I've seen in Norway is like that times 10 of just like the beauty and the space. It's just gorgeous
Everywhere you look. So I partially love photography. Like I have a side hustle of not a side hustle, just a passion for photography. I went out there one year by myself and just like took my really nice camera, and I went to Lofoten Islands, my favorite place in the world. And it's a place where I light up. My soul just lights up. And I've taken, after the event, I have a kind of a private group that I take there for rest and recovery after the Viking event. And I am telling you what, like I would come around a bend, see this gorgeous landscape, sit there for 20, 30 minutes, taking pictures, get back in the car, drive again, opens up. I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible. And for hours, days, I just spent like mind blown where how beautiful. It's like that on your nice big screen, OLED TVs, you have the 8K like screensavers. It's like that in real life. It is. It just is. And the energy there is incredible, like I said. So that's why when I hear people have been to Europe but not Norway, I'm like, please come with me. Whether it's my event or another event, I want you to see it through my lens, because I've been there so much and know the places to go. And I continually get to meet more and more people. So I love being a tour guide to Norway.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'll have to take you up on that very soon.
Good.
So let's talk a little bit about kind of you dabble in not dabble, but you are
Dabble.
into self improvement. But what do you do for your health? Like, you have any like cool rituals or process because you look like you're pretty ripped, healthy guy. Got
Thanks,
a
man.
beard.
Thanks, man. Thank you. Yeah, I have the ability to grow a nice beard. Keeping the beard healthy with oils is one thing to keep a nice beard. Man, I've always loved health and wellness. I think that we don't have our health, but we have lots of money. What do we have? We don't have the ability to enjoy it. So health is a very, very high priority for me. And there's been times in my life where I've screwed that up or let that value sink down. I think we all have, right? There's different things going on in our life.
Sure.
I'm a huge proponent of peptides, and I've been using peptides for many, many years, off and on. But mainly, like one, I already mentioned it, getting outside, like making sure I get my time outside, not at the computer, making sure I do digital detoxes as well. That's part of why I do the Viking event. I have an award-winning photography and videography team there so that people can put their phones away. Just like be present in the moment in nature. That's a huge piece. Also, we have a huge pandemic with mental instability. Like mental health is a massive topic. And I really want to get across to people that doing consistent breath work, it's one of my other favorite things to do. Every single day I'm doing breath work, and I do breath work with my clients combined with hypnotherapy. And sometimes it's with a like headphones with a group of people, like 50, 60 people in a room. Other times it's one-on-one, and bring stuff up just like psychedelics do. Psychedelics can bring stuff up, but if we don't integrate and process that and have the capacity to do that, we're just kind of bringing stuff up and then not processing it. So I love breath work. I love spending time with people to like say, hey, let's have this safe container and let's talk about everything. Whatever's coming up, let's work with those feelings. A lot of high performers love to just sweep things under the rug or just hold it in, and then it's held in until it can't be held in. And so that's what takes me on these adventures with people. I look at it as an adventure into the unconscious mind to help heal what is coming up through feelings, through emotions, through this energy, especially in a world where I think people are not done the work and their unconscious minds has a lot of unresolved trauma or things. And trauma, I mean, doesn't have to be bad trauma. It could just be programming from their past. And combine that with, there's a lot of people's gifts coming online, spiritual stuff happening, and people not understanding what's going on. And when you combine those two with not doing the work, not doing the breath work, not taking care of yourself and all the health and wealth and wellness, then you combine that with like cool things and psychic abilities and stuff turning online, that can also create some chaos for people. So I think that it's a good bridge between is like take care of your temple, take care of your body, take care of your mind, your heart, and do the harder, deeper work with a coach, a hypnotherapist to get into the unconscious mind stuff. And I'm not talking life coaching, and I'm not putting down life coaches, but when we're dealing with the conscious mind, that's 5-10% of our capacity. The unconscious mind is the unlimited wealth of connection to the universe, to the superconscious, to all of our deep shadow stuff. That's where the real work happens, and that's where the most improvement happens when we go and do that work. And that's why I love going into the theta state, getting into hypnotherapy, and getting into these states that most people probably avoid.
Yeah. Interesting. So do you have is there any books that you recommend, or if like someone's just kind of new to hypnotherapy, doesn't know a lot about it, or some of that? When you talk about the different brain states, I think of Stephen Kotler's book. Escapes me,
The
but
Flow Genome Project.
flow state.
I know which one. Oh,
Superman.
The Superman one, kind of. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. We'll get it in the show notes.
One of my most intriguing books when it comes to kind of like, looking at the brain and how some of these extreme athletes would just like they get in a whole different state, and I love like accessing that flow state. That's why I love snowboarding, weight surfing, mountain biking. Like you can access that flow state just quick, and you just feel like the world's a different place. But anything that you really like or dig for people that want to kind of explore that world?
Yeah, I first want to say before I like point out a book, because there's a whole rabbit hole you can go down if you want to learn that.
Yeah, maybe just a place to learn.
It's like, okay, hypnosis has been around since the ancient Egyptian times. It's been around for a long time. In fact, it was very, very highly used in the early medical days before they had medicines and pills and things like that. Hypnotherapy is incredibly effective. What back in the day would be, the early signs of big pharma did was realize, well, they can make more money by giving people pills and all those kind of things. But hypnotherapy was actually like doing it to where people were healed and not needing him.
Yeah, you can't bottle up hypnotherapy necessarily.
No, you can't. It's incredible. I truly believe we can self-heal. We can heal anything that happens to us. We are so limited by programming, society, all that stuff. But in its essence, hypnotherapy is meditation with a goal, with a result, with an outcome you're looking to do. Meditation is great to calm the mind, to quiet the mind, to relax. And I really believe in a stillness practice. And the difference with hypnotherapy is, especially when you're working with someone privately, one-on-one or in a group, is you're being guided into these different states of awareness, these different states of being. We have beta. You and I are in beta right now. We're a higher frequency. We're talking, we're deciding, we're doing tasks. We can do that kind of stuff. Most people are in beta. Then we've got right underneath, when you close your eyes and you sink right under beta, take a deep breath, you're getting into alpha. It's a beautiful state of relaxation. No fear can exist there. It's a very, very beautiful lower state, great visualization where meditation gets you. Then there's theta, and then there's delta. Delta is you're unconscious, you are asleep, you're completely out, not aware of this world. So theta, that area below alpha, right above delta, is the place where we can recode anything. That's where the magic happens. That's where we can rewire our brain. We can go back to our inner child. We can go back to any place. This is where time is not real. Time is a tool. Time is the ability for us to go back to all of our experiences. Everything is tracked inside of our unconscious mind. The recorder started when we were born. That's always been going. It's always been on. We can go back to any of these events. It's all inside there. So when we're in theta, and by the way, one of the things like beta, alpha, theta, delta, everyone is always in a state of hypnosis throughout the day. So we're all hypnotized at all times of the day. All it means is you're up and down. So you wake up in the morning, so you're asleep, but you're in delta. You wake up in the morning, you notice how some people are like me, which is like a puppy dog when I wake up, like a golden retriever. I'm like, I'm ready to go. I can go from delta to beta very quickly. I'm a morning person. Some people are like, don't talk to me for 2 hours. Those people are the ones that coming out of delta, it takes them longer to go up through theta, up through alpha. They have their coffee and they're finally at beta. So we're all different. Our brains are different, but we're always in that different flux. Another example of this is, have you ever found yourself leaving work and you got to get to the gym, or going to at the gym, going home or something? You get in your car, you're maybe a little bit tired. Next thing you know, you're home and you don't even remember the drive. The automaticity of your body, your unconscious mind's number one objective is to keep you safe. So it knows how to get you safe because you've driven the car so many times. That's right. Conditioning and programming is so key. So you take that same concept, and that is hypnotherapy. That is what we're doing. We're just simply choosing to take time out of our schedule to say, I'm going to choose to get into a deeper state, and then go and actively be conscious in my life to change and rewire whatever I want to do.
Love it. Yeah, that's beautiful. My yeah, so I drive. So I live in St. George. I drive, sometimes fly, but I actually love the drive. Like Monday, we had an event there at the office, and so I left about 4:30 a.m. so I could make sure I was there, and then I drove back home that same night. But that's like, it's actually super therapeutic for me because I can like just zone in. I can listen to a good podcast, or I can just have silence. And like that drive, there's always great views, sunset, stars. But yeah, that like nails it. Like you go home from the gym and you're just like there instantly. That's kind of how my drive is sometimes, is it's just like, I'm just there. It's supposed to be a 3.5, 4 hour drive, and sometimes it feels like it's 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's where time is our creation for our conscious mind, right? We need that time and linear thing. That's why, depending on your mindset and your state, time changes. Time has different things. When you're having fun doing things with your friends, literally 2-3 hours can pass by. You're like, oh my God, it's already 7 o'clock. I can't believe it. So that is these different states of mind that we're always in. So I want people to feel more comfortable about, like, the hypnosis is not a thing from the movies where you get people gets control over you and you do something you don't want to. That's all stage hypnosis. That's not stuff that I really play with. Oh, I could. It's just, that's not what I'm here to do. I'm not here to get people to ooh and ah. There's a lot of people on Instagram that look like they're popping somebody on the forehead and then they look like they're fainting. And it's like, that's cool. That's great for show. Good for them, whatever. But like, let's use it in a more constructive way is my reframe for it. So it's not where you're control. Anytime I'm working with somebody, the client is always in control of everything. Their number one objective of the unconscious mind is to keep that person safe. So I can't say or do anything to make them do something that's going to hurt them or do whatever. It's completely safe. And also, I think it's really important to make sure that you're a good messenger and you're a good coach, and that I'm always there taking like the responsibility of like a medical professional. Everything's private. Everything stays in my container, our container, and like I don't really record sessions unless people want them. It's a private thing, and I think it's really the most powerful thing I have been able to move the needle on with people. And I'll say this, like I believe some people love talk therapy, and that's great. Talk therapy is wonderful. And versus hypnotherapy, there was a study done probably 20, 25 years now, thousands of different people. And in talk therapy, they had about 400 sessions, could be 2-3 years and a good amount of money, had about a 32%, 36% like change results created like success, compared to hypnotherapy in only 6 sessions, 92% change, stickiness, like success. So from a high performance standpoint, yeah, I have clients that still love to go to their talk therapist. Great. I'm not putting it down. It's just, it's a mode, a channel, a way to do it. And you can accelerate your results by dealing with the unconscious mind and going to the root cause of whatever the issue is, whether it's quitting smoking or it's a huge traumatic experience, car accidents, deaths, suicides, things like that. It all, if you get to the root cause and you get to the emotion and the initial thought, you can rewire, reprogram that and help process those emotions. And that creates ripple effects in every direction of your whole timeline. It's fascinating.
Yeah. One of my thoughts or concerns, maybe you can, change my mind on this, but I've always, I've talked to different people that have, like they go back and it almost like creates more a triggering effect, and they don't necessarily process it. Is it usually, I have, sorry. I have like someone that's pretty close to me that has experienced something in childhood, pretty traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
And my concern would be is they go back there and they almost get like stuck and they're just kind of they'll utilize some different childlike tendencies, let's say. But yeah, is there any concern of when you kind of go back and replay that experience? Because the goal is you're kind of reprogramming how you're experiencing that moment that is kind of negative and almost turning it into a positive, or is it just processing that?
Yes, and so yes, you're right. So there's something with regression. So we're taking people back to a moment in time of where they experienced that thing. Now, there are different modalities to do that. And part of it is something called timeline therapy, which, if you know NLP, is something where you can float above those things, not be inside of it. So what happens, there's disassociated and associated. Associated is looking through your eyes. Disassociated is seeing yourself, right? So when people associate, meaning they go back into the memory and they're like freaking out, which can happen.
Yeah.
All you got to do, a good practitioner would pull them out of that, raise them above that moment so that they're not in it. So partially it's good for them to feel the feelings and the emotions of that time, and we're reframing and we're doing whatever's for the highest and greatest good for that individual. Sometimes it's having a conversation with the part. We're also talking about parts therapy, integration. Just like somebody, if your friend says, hey, what do you want for dinner? You're like, I want Chinese. Now, part of me wants Chinese, but part of me wants to eat healthy. That means you're a parts conflict. You're not just of one mind saying, oh, no, we're going to go eat healthy at this place, at this time, right? There's a difference when you're like pulled different directions. That means there's parts that are in conflict. So when we not only go to regression and we go into that memory, we're also going to talk to and understand that part, which could be an inner child, which could be an unresolved part or a part that was created to protect the person that is still acting out years later. We've got people who are 40, 50, 60 who have a part of them showing up that's still the 3-year-old. So they're not showing up as their adult self in the relationship or with money. Their inner child thinks that they still have to protect it because they didn't get the memo that you're grown up. So sometimes all we've got to do is literally, I'm talking about having a conversation with these parts in your imagination, in your mind. And it's not like you're talking to beings necessarily, although some people have that ability. We can bring in your higher self. We can bring in these different modalities to be able to process the emotion, to heal that moment. And sometimes it's giving your kid your inner child a hug. Sometimes it's having a confrontational conversation with that parent or the person that did the thing. And ultimately, what we're looking at doing is getting people to compassion and forgiveness for the others and for themselves. And that's where we can take a chaotic situation where people could be really in it. We don't let them relive that. We're just reconnecting with that and helping diminish the energy charge around it that could be creating the dis-ease in them. Then as we move forward, we do checks and balances on other times when they felt that same, let's say, fear, and we're making sure that it's processed and it's out of the system. They can go from a 10, because I also measure things 0 to 10. They're like, oh, it's like a 12 or 13 and it's hurting. And then we go through, 20, 30, 40 minutes of stuff and they come down to like, oh my God, it's a 0. I feel nothing. I felt that anxiety my whole life and now I feel it's gone. That's what can happen when we're dealing with the unconscious mind. Beautiful. Hopefully that helps explain it.
No, that was great. Awesome. So I'll ask you kind of one more question, just around I'm curious, like you've been on this journey for quite a few years, but you started really young. Is there any advice that you would have, that you wish you could give kind of your younger self as you were going through this transformation?
Great question. Yeah, I'm really blessed to have had amazing parents. No one's perfect, but I had my mom and dad were together until my dad passed a couple years ago. I had a great grandfather and grandmother. Like I'm really, really blessed, and I'm so thankful for that. I think that I would have the advice I would have given myself is to like really lean into just being me. Like at some point, I fell into the nice guy, becoming the nice guy, and that nice guy syndrome, which there's got some great books out there on it. Like I was a nice guy, and I shoved off and said, well, I'm not angry. I'm not an angry person, so I'm not going to even deal with anger. It's before I really understood how important this stuff was. Even as learning about emotions and all this, it was like, oh, well, my own stuff is like, no, I'm not an angry guy, so I'm going to push that off. Literally, that every emotion, even the negative ones, guilt, sadness, shame, all those are gifts. Even the positive ones are gifts. They are gifts because they're just data points. Going back to the data conversation, emotions are not who you are. You are not your issues either. People are not fucking broken. I believe that. I want everybody to hear that. They're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. These are just unconscious patterns and systems like on your phone, like apps running in the background that are creating results in your life, and they're on autopilot. Like if you have your phone and you don't click the update for a number of times, what happens? It spazzes out and it's worthless. It doesn't work. You've got to update the software, the operating system that's going on there. So I would have told myself, lean into authenticity. Just be you. Just be you, and don't try to be what you think other people should be. And then to understand all the gifts, all the emotions are gifts, and to just feel them. And sometimes you don't need anything. You don't need a hypnotherapist. You just like need to feel the sadness and cry your ass off. Just get it out and just be in it. As uncomfortable as it can be, sometimes you just need to let it process through. And it generally takes about 90 seconds. Or honestly, if you just sit in the uncomfortableness for a minute, more than a minute, it's amazing how you don't need all the things all the books talk about. You just be with your feelings. So there's a couple of things I would have told myself earlier.
Love that. Awesome. Well, I'm sure everyone's really interested in how they can learn more about the Awaken the Viking. Tell us how we can maybe learn more about that or apply.
Yeah. It's at awakentheviking.com. Awaken, AWAKEN, theviking.com. And the name of the actual event is called the Viking Initiation. And it's in Norway. So you would be flying out there 8 days, 8 nights. Everything's included in the price. You just have to get a flight out there. We pick you up, we go do the excursions, all the food. We have incredible fresh food as well. Like that's one thing that's really important on events. And it's really about camaraderie, getting that collective container. We're doing awesome meditations. We're doing hot seat coaching in the fjord. I have unique guests, speakers. They're coming in to help us not just talk about theory or history, but like talk about ancient wisdom and how we apply it to our lives and our businesses. And I don't know if you see here, but I've got actual tattoos of the runes. And so I've got these tattoos. I've got a tattoo of Thor's hammer right here. It's an Icelandic stave that's all hand poke. So I've never been inked in my life, but this is new since 2023. And working with these frequencies, I actually put these different runes as a bind rune in my logos to create the high frequency and and more success and wealth and abundance into my logos of my businesses. I go and do utaseta, which is going out and meditate and grounding myself in nature, something that the Vikings would do to be able to be in nature and connect with the different archetypal gods, Thor, Odin, Freya, all the different archetypes that are all inside of us and accessible through the universe. There's a lot of these things we talk about that are esoteric or woo-woo, as some people will talk about, but we have a way to practically apply that to your meditations, to your routines, and like take a little bit of a different view upon, hey, there's primal and ancient civilizations that had shit figured out, especially with the balance of masculine and feminine. And as much of the Vikings are looked at as these raping, pillaging, whatever, there's a lot of other groups that did that. But like the Vikings are very misunderstood. And that's one thing that we talk about is like the mythos and the truth of what we actually know, because they didn't write a lot of stuff down, but the Christians did. So when they were getting rid of paganism, it almost overrode a lot of the stuff that was actually true about the Vikings. So it's a fascinating journey into a new world that can help change your mindset and help you step into a new like peak experience and understand what that new chapter is for yourself while letting go and shedding the skin of the old self through initiation in one of the most beautiful places in the world. So it's all included. It's just under 12 grand, but everything's included. And for Norway, that's actually a really good deal because Norway is crazy expensive. But I've got it down to like a really amazing experience for 8 days, 8 nights. Again, Awaken the Viking. And then you can reach out to me there as well. I personally interview everybody that applies, go through the application process. And there are some payment programs as well, but I love to meet people. And if you're interested at all, just go fill out the application. There's no risk there. And we have a lot of fun together.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Very cool. What about any other, if someone just wants to kind of follow what you're up to or anything, any other ways to connect with you?
Yeah. ajyager.com. It's going to be a brand new website soonish, but ajyager.com. And then I'm definitely on Instagram at ajyager and LinkedIn. Correct. Just search it. Same thing, AJ Yeager. But those are the places you'll find me the most. I do really online and in person in Utah breathwork sessions mixed with hypnotherapy, which is really cool. And I'm doing more of them in Salt Lake City, Farmington, a bunch of other places here. So if you're in Utah, come hang out, come see me, and let's breathe together.
Love it. Awesome. Well, Aaron James, thank you so much for being on the show today. Great to connect with you, and really, really looking forward to seeing some more pictures from Norway and this just epic event you got going on.
Well, thanks for having me on, man. I love talking. Hanging out with you is wonderful. So I'm looking forward to getting lunch and hanging out some more. But I appreciate you. Thanks for sharing me with your audience.
You have a good one, everybody. Hopefully, if you liked what you heard here, you found it interesting, give it a share. Share this with a close loved one. I know there's, I think it's coming up in May is the next Awaken the Viking event. So
yeah, May 3rd through the 11th.
Yeah, it'll be an awesome experience. See everybody.
Thank you.